When I 30F was 17, I had a baby boy. Yeah, I know how that sounds. We weren't careful, and I've faced the judgment for years, trust me. I've heard it all. Jim 31 and was my boyfriend at the time. But the minute I found out I was pregnant, he bailed with his family's help. He had big college plans and disappeared completely. What happened next was completely my decision. After a lot of thinking, I realized that abortion just wasn't right for me. No judgment to anyone else. It just wasn't something I could do. So I chose adoption. My parents knew a wonderful couple who had been looking to adopt. I met them and instantly felt they were the right fit. It almost became like a surrogate situation. I focused on school from home, and they were there for every step of the pregnancy. They covered most of the medical costs, and the adoptive mama teacher helped me stay on track with my education and college plans. When I gave birth, I didn't hold the baby, she did. It felt like the right thing. I stayed in his life, but from a distance, more like a special aunt. He's grown up now and he knows who I am, but his mom is still the woman who raised him. He even jokes that he knows who to call if he ever needs a kidney. He's got my sense of humor, go figure. We talk once in a while, which is perfect. He's happy, and I've never regretted my decision. It gave him a good life, and I got to rebuild mine. As for me, I got married 6 years ago to Sean 37M. He was divorced but on good terms with his ex, Tina 39F. They have 2 kids, a 17-year-old son and a 20-year-old daughter. From the beginning, Sean made it clear that his kids' opinions mattered, and that Tina would always be a part of his life, not as a spouse but as a friend and mother to his children. I also told Tina and him about my teen pregnancy. Well, to begin with, the kids, my stepdaughter and I get along well. She's obviously closer to her mother, but she still does girls' days with me every so often. It's more like friends, though. My stepson is incredibly close to me. He calls me his other mom and always asks me to be present for important events. We bonded when his childhood dog passed away, as my cat died about the same time. Tina and I were best friends. I know people have complicated relationships with their partner's exes, but we always show respect to each other. I never tried to take her place. I know Sean and her shared something special long before I was in the picture. That's their history, and I am a stepmom, not a mom. Her place in the kid's life is not up for competition. The reason for this background is that the whole mess with Jim started when I took my stepson to a medical appointment. It wasn't serious, though. He did have to use anesthesia. Sean and Tina both couldn't get the day off. They tried, but their jobs are on call and they cannot easily take time off, so I went on my own to be my stepson's support. I didn't recognize Jim as one of the doctors. His real name, both first and last name, are incredibly common, and it had been years. Not to mention, my priority was being my stepson's support, and everything else was secondary. After my stepson was done, he was a bit out of it as expected. I was setting him up in the car and making sure he was comfortable. When Jim came over, he told me he had been thinking about me and our son for so long, and he was glad our boy was okay. It really took me a few minutes for my brain to click on what was going on, and he kept on rambling about apologies and how he wasn't ready to be a father, blah blah blah. Eventually I just sighed and loudly said, "This is not the baby I was pregnant with." I gave him up for adoption after I gave birth. I'm a stepmother. My loopy stepson chimed in with, "Other mom." I had to hold back a smirk. To be honest, Jim was stunned by that, and it gave me time to catch him up on the important details. I gave up the baby. He knows what happened and why I gave him up. I married a man with 2 children. I'm happy and don't want him in my life, and no, I won't give him contact information for the adoptive family. He's 16 years too late. That was the end of it, and I got into my car to get my stepson home to rest. Since then, Jim found me in social media and has been painting this sob story about me denying him a chance to be a father, how I was a poor mother that threw away her child to raise someone else's children. I'm basically the shovel. Apparently most of our former classmates that saw the post reminded him that he left me some of his friends even pointed out he laughed about leaving me pregnant. I didn't know that part. A few of his relatives have reached out to bash me about taking Jim's chance to be a father, that it made me a poor Christian. I'm not. I'm Jewish to begin with. A few friends did tell me it was a cheat to move to give the baby up without telling Jim. I don't personally think I was in the wrong, but in case I decided to leave the judgment to the internet masses, so Reddit, Ida clearing something out. The adoptive parents in Biacult have a phone number to contact Jim's parents if they want. I have no say if they do or not. I just won't give Jim any information on them. Update: this is probably the one and only update I'll be doing. I'm going to start with the important matter. A lot of people were worried about my biological kid and what he wished when it came to Jim. While I got his permission to post this, he spoke to Jim once a few days after I told him where he could find Jim. I won't share all the details, only the final decision. There won't be any more contact between them. The kid doesn't want a second dad, and Jim wasn't willing to be in his life unless he had the position of dad, so he's going no Connect with Jim. There was more to it, but it's very personal and I feel it's not my place to share it. The kid and I will continue to have a relationship as aunt and nephew and he knows whatever he needs medically. I'll always be first in line to give blood, kidney, etc. For those wondering why Jim is so big into contact with the kid, I found out a few details by his friends. Jim can have more kids, he just hasn't had a stable relationship in years, which I can believe since I finally had enough and decided to accept going to have coffee with him to get some things squared away. My husband came of course, but he sat in another table to let me deal with it. I asked him to. The conversation was a show, to be honest. Jim brought me flowers and cacao starticle strawberries, my old favorites. He treated it all like some date. I nipped that bud immediately. I introduced my husband and told him we were very much in love and happy, so I don't appreciate any attempts at unwanted romance. Once we sat down, he started by telling me what I knew about him having failed relationships, that he felt no woman could meet his standards for a wife and mother to his children since he already saw me as that. He claims he feels guilty for choosing college over me and our baby. He was well aware of the court dates regarding custody and that I was trying to put the baby up for adoption. When he saw me taking care of my stepson, he thought I had chickened out of giving the baby away. Seeing me be all caring of our baby boy made him think how great it would be if the three of us could be a family and maybe have a bigger family down the road. He had the gall to ask me if I would consider divorcing my husband and try to fight for custody of our son. I have to admit I laughed in his face. I probably was overly cruel, but I had years of stress, heartache, and judgmental encounters to drop on him. I told him all I saw in him was a coward that instead of staying to make adult decisions decided to run with help of mommy and daddy, that any love I had for him died the day I had to push out a full human being, and instead of knowing I had support from him, there was a big empty spot where the dad was supposed to be. That I almost ruined my life and had to throw away prom, senior pictures, and even graduation because I was far too pregnant to party, appear on the yearbook, or walk into stage to get my diploma. He got to party and enjoy life while I had to fight tooth and nail for an inch of respect, yet we both had unprotected sex. The only difference is his peachy wasn't big enough to pop a baby out or satisfy a woman to begin with. That was a bit mean, but not sorry. After I calmed down, I simply told him I had a happy life with a man that loves me, great stepkids that are the greatest gift, a best friend who lets me be a stepmom to her children, a nephew who I adore and who, despite our history as biological mother and child, he still loves me as his special aunt rather than hate me. My family is perfect because he's not part of it, and I have no intentions to live in his fantasy, and that I can't wait to get pregnant with my husband's child. To add to that perfection, I also told him to leave our biological kid alone. He has made his choice, and it is up to him if he ever reaches out for Jim. And also let him know I would be making a formal complaint to his hospital for his harassment. Good thing my husband took screenshots, because by the time we got home, Jim had deleted all the posts. A lot of his former friends did repost screenshots making fun of him. The silver line in all of this is that I have reconnected with my high school classmates, and to be honest, they are great people. Seems Jim isn't a handful that stayed in his school type mindset. It's been about 3 days and no signs of Jim. My husband did get the biggest ego boost when he overheard me going off on Jim, and has been insufferable in a good way, so there's mostly good news. Hopefully one of these days we'll get even more good news, since we actually are excited at the idea of having a baby together.